So today we'll be talking about Docker security. So this is a beginner level talk. So I'll try to keep it as beginner as possible so that you understand all the aspects. We'll not deep dive into everything, all the aspects of security, but yes, we'll be touching on some of the tools that I feel is good and you can go back and explore. Less of the presentation, more of the demo. Ajit has already introduced me, but some of the other things. Apart from the Docker Bangalore meetup, I also run a Rancher and Influx meetup in Bangalore, and I'm an Influx ace. I'm a Rancher trusted hand member, and yes, recently I was added to CNCF ambassadors group as well. And all my blogs are on Medium. I write on Newsstack and Rancher as well. And this is my Twitter handler at the rate Sayyam Pathak. You can follow me and ask me questions regarding Docker, Kubernetes, Rancher, Influx, and the CNCF landscape. So before moving into like why why security is important for Docker, let's understand for the microservices ecosystem when the shift has happened from monolithic architectures, why actually we have moved towards Docker. So first of all, yes, Docker is open source and you can freely download it anywhere on any system, any VM, any cloud. Just by running Docker daemon, you will be able to run all the images. So Docker has the concept of images, containers. So consider the images as I'm going fast because that's not a very basic talk on Docker, but just to set the context, like what actually it is. So Docker has something called images and the containers. So images are actually your file system where all your source codes, dependencies, libraries exist. And when you run it, it's called a container. And container is your microservices or your simple application. You can call it as application. So so if you read the first point, you can get attacked, but then you can respawn the container. So even if the attacker attacks your container, you can always terminate that container and you can respawn it. You have very strong integrations with your CI/CD pipelines, and you can use the same thing to respawn your infrastructure, containers, and all that stuff. Also, if they get access to your container, they will be having limited access, because if you have taken the security considerations properly, you won't give the attacker the full access of your host. You will just be giving access to a container, and if everything is followed according to the CIS benchmark, then everything will be taken care. The major point why the adoption of Docker is that now the developers or anybody won't be able to say that it was running on my machine and now it is not running, because Docker is extremely portable. So anything that you containerize as an image, that will run as it is on any other platform where your Docker engine is installed. So be it Azure Cloud, be it Google Cloud, be it your laptop or his laptop. So earlier, like you have developed an application and you ask someone else, okay, please run this application. So he has to install all the dependencies, he has to make all the configurations, all the environment variables, everything. And also apart from that, if he has done any specific settings that he do not remember, it will be a problem for the other person. But here you just ship the images and you are ready to go. That person can run directly the application from the images that you have posted on Docker Hub or whichever registry you are following. And VMs are too last to run, microservices love container, and it's all in ones. Now it's not like only ops people will be responsible for running your application, and only the security people will be responsible for the security perspective. So the developers, operations, security all are coming together, and you yourself can make your container secure. You yourself can run your containers, create Docker files, and write code as well. So this was like why Docker. Different security aspects that you should always consider in mind. So you pull an image from Docker Hub. So you have to make sure you are pulling the right image. So now pulling the right image can be like the official repository, or you have your digest. So do not pull always the latest image. You can always pull from the right digest so that you know that it's a verified one. Before starting the container, you should make sure that you are running it. You have taken care, you have taken the base image which is certified by your security at your organization. Then runtime security, when the container is running, you need to make sure that any abnormal behavior should not occur. So all your s trace, everything should be captured. different tools like Falco are there that can capture like what all is happening when you are getting into the container, what all things are getting logged, and if any abnormal call is there, then they can alert you, or you can set up different things like that. Then host VM security, that has to be there. That was previously also like the kernel security and the VM security. That will always be there, because on the machine that you are running, first it has to be secured, else it is trouble. Security patching, we do not apply security patches to the images. You always rebuild the images. So you directly, if any security patch is there, so or the middle layer of your images are there, you can directly rebuild the images and run your containers. Updating Docker images, the same only. Some of the security tips: never run as your container as root or privileged. It's very easy to run an application as root or privileged, but with this you give everything to the outside world, and anybody getting access to your container can easily get access to your host VM, and they can do anything. They can read all your files, they can delete or manipulate anything. Another thing is scan the container. So there are various scanning tools, commercial, open source, that you can use with respect to the scanning of the containers. Then you have limit. So you should always limit the memory, limit the CPU, so that your containers do not eat up everything which is there on the VM, and the other processes are not getting anything, and it gets abrupt. Then limit the volume permissions. Never, I mean, only when it is required actually, that you're writing something in the DB scenarios, that you have your volume in a read write mode. Else, always try in read only mode. So there is something, when you mount a volume, you can specify which mode you want to mount onto the system. Especially if you are mounting some of the root files, then you should never do it as read write mode. Limit the capabilities and drop all the privileges and add them back, the ones you need. So capabilities are something like, suppose you want to read slash etc password. So if you limit all the capabilities, whenever you go inside the container, you won't be able to read that. So the best practice is like you limit all the capabilities, and then add specific ones that are actually required by the container. Just blindly giving privileged access or root access won't help you from the security perspective. Yeah, these all things we'll see in the demo. Secrets, Docker Content Trust, SE Linux. So SE Linux is something that we immediately disable SE Linux, because we do not want to install anything safely. And define your set UID, set GID binaries, app armor, Claire, Peeker for the image scanning. These are the open source tools. Claire and Peek are. Docker Bench we'll discuss. We'll also discuss Trivy. I have not mentioned over here. And dependency checkers, you can use Node Security Project. All these are open source. Notary by default, Docker also implements its own Notary, but you can again create your own key certificates and have TLS connections. I mean, it's not thank you yet, because I'll be moving towards the demo part. Okay. So I'll be using the Play with Docker platform. So this is a secret guest for now, but I'll make it public after the session. I hope the font is clear now. Okay. So nothing is running. So Docker Content Trust will only, pull the trusted images from the repository. And if you try to pull any other image, it will show you that it is not trusted and you should not be pulling this. In that instance, if you actually want to have customized images, then you have to create your key pairs and upload that image with that particular key, so that your registry, wherever you are pulling the image, it knows that it is a trusted image. But the official images are actually the trusted images. And to enable Docker Content Trust, you just export a variable, so it's enabled. And now if you pull a simple Nginx image, you will get to know it's not a simple pull, it will give you extra information as well. So else it would have said only this, it will tag with the SHA and the digest. Now if you try to pull, yeah, okay, let's see the inspect of that and see what all information it gives. So you can see it has the repository key and the root key, so it is already there. So for the official images, Docker engine already have these set of keys, and you can directly pull them. I mean, you don't need to upload your keys for those images, you can directly pull them. And you can see the internal images, what all it has used and what are their SHAs. Let's try to pull an image which is not, which do not have the keys. So you can see the error. The remote trust data for this particular image do not exist. So it will simply not pull only. So if any malicious image is there present in Docker Hub, and or maybe a small software is there and you actually want to use it, but you are not sure whether it contains anything that can harm your system or something, so you can directly just enable the default content trust, pull that image and see if it helps. If not, then probably you will have to do some R&D and create some keys or do something, because it won't help. Next thing, okay, let's have some another other images, pull them. So in order to get the IDs of the images, this is the command that you will directly give you the ID. So if I have other set of images, you will get the running container IDs. Why we are doing it is, suppose you want to know what all images are there with respect to, what all digests are there with respect to this digest, you can go back to Docker Hub, see whether it has the latest patched security bugs or you need to update. So by this way you can check if you actually need to update your images or the intermediate images. Actually there is a command for intermediate images. I think I have posted or not, I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, it's not there. I'll post it after the session. Next is the Docker Bench. So it is a tool. So there are two tools by Aqua Security. Both are open source. One is Docker Bench. One is Kube Bench. Kube Bench is for Kubernetes, and Docker Bench is for Docker. But why they are? So there is a CIS benchmark specification, which is the security benchmark specification that is kind of a benchmark, or you can say the Bible of security for Docker. It's Docker Bench tool they have created, which is in compliance with the Docker CIS specification, and the Kubebench tool is in compliance with the Kubebench, the Kubernetes CIS specification. So we'll quickly run Docker benchmarking tool and see what results actually it gives. I'll clear out the screen. Okay. Let's see. So it has scanned. So this was a quick run. There are a lot of other configurations that you can actually pass to the tool, but the simple one gives you this. Yeah. So what it has done is Docker benchmark security. It's by Docker Inc. Checks for dozens of common best practices around deploying containers in production. So if you are running containers in production, you should actually see once, run this tool and see, okay, what all things the security team might come to you, okay, why you are running this? Because in big organization you always will have security audits for your application, and they come up with huge list of things that are not right. So before they come and tell you, okay, these things you can actually do, because they also refer to the, the benchmarks that have been published by other organizations. So they will come back to you, okay, this, why this authentication is not there, why you are not using TLS over there, why you using authentication like this over there. So for those things, just run a quick scan of your Docker, or if you are running Kubernetes, you can use Kubebench. It'll also give you all the details. So it give you info, what are passed, what are the warnings, and what are the errors. So I think there might be some errors, or there might not be, because this, so you can see for the warnings, and actually see if you are, if it is actually mandatory. So it is saying the health check instruction for a container image is not mandatory. Yes, it is not mandatory, but if you have this, then obviously it gives that your container will always start, or you will always have the health check for your container, like whether it is up or not, you should know. So health check for container or for a pod in Kubernetes is important. That's why it came as a warning. Other are infos. So like this, you can have the Docker Bench tool. It gives you, let me just go back to. So it gives you the host configuration, daemon configuration. It scans the container runtime and the images and the build file. So all these things, it checks and gives you a report, kind of a snapshot report, kind of where and all you should look. Another tool that we'll talk is, so it's a image, so vulnerability scanning tool, which is again open source by Aqua Security, and it's very active. You can see 5 days ago, 4 days ago, the commits are happening. So their go forward is like, they do have a commercial product, but for the open source version, they have Trivi, and they are promoting it very much, and they are actively making it better day by day. You can actually go see the issues. If you want to contribute, you can contribute as well if you are a security fan. So let's run this and see how we can run this. Okay. Oh, we have to unset that. So you can see all the latest bugs that are actually reported. So CV 2019. So these are actually the bugs that were there for that particular image. So we have scanned one image. The image name is, let's see the command first. The image name is Python 3.4 Alpine. So we want to scan this particular image, whether this particular image has addressed any major bug that has been reported recently. So with this, you can actually see all the things that has been addressed for this particular image, all the middle layers. So if you go down, you can see what all libraries actually it is using, what all severity of bugs that are there, and that's it. You can then debug what all things you want to solve. If you really want to use, so suppose if anyone is using Java 6 or Java 7, like they should use, or does it still have the vulnerabilities that can impact your system? So you can first do a scan, see for the high vulnerabilities, and see if it is safe for you to use them. Similarly, if you want any other image to scan, just change the image over here. You can run it on your Linux VM as well. I mean, there are steps if you go down. So quick start was for basic one. Scan image file, and you can get the results as JSON. So if you want to have a report kind of in JSON, they have given somewhere. Yeah. So as a JSON, if you see like this, you'll get JSON with the list of vulnerabilities. The vulnerability ID will be like CV, what was it, what was the title, what it briefly meant. So all those things are there, and you can play around with it. Next up, what we have is, so Docker file. Yeah. So whenever you are writing a Docker file, it is very important that because inside a Docker file you'll always be downloading some of the packages that you want to run, that are required to run for your application. So those packages you should not directly download like apt get install. You should always use the keys with respect to that, so that you are actually downloading the right libraries for that particular image that you have chosen as the base image for your application. So it's not that you should always be running, apt get install this, that. You should take care of these keys as well. That's it for Docker images. Okay. uh, so we discussed like never run Docker as root. So what actually you can do then if you do not want to run it as root? So inside your Docker file, just create a user group, assign a user to that, and you should be able to use your Docker image with that user. There are very limited scenarios in which you actually need root access for your applications. Maybe you want to install very specific things that require, or you want to do a curl very specifically that requires a root access. So all those things are there. So below that, there is a very good example that Redis uses. I mean, it's full this thing. So Redis uses this particular thing to set their user. So they have their own user, and they give all the data permission to the Redis user, and then they use Gosu for that particular user. So what is the difference between Gosu and sudo is like if you run ps-aux on with a sudo command, it will give you two PIDs. The PID one will be of sudo and the other PID will be of the command that you have run. But if you run the same thing with Gosu, it will give you only one PID of the command, of the actual command that you have run, not the Gosu part, but after that what you have run. How it is helpful, it will be PID1, and it will correctly receive and send all the requests after that. Let's see if it is running. Yeah, so it gives you uh, two commands, I mean two PIDs. One is one. Another thing we discussed was that always run Docker in the volumes as a read-only mode. So if you run these commands, let me increase the font. Okay. So if you run these commands, Docker run, and what you are doing over here is you are running a Docker container, mounting your present working directory into the working directory of the container in the read-only mode. So colon RO means the read-only mode. Now, after that, you have done a touch pwdx. You are trying to touch a file means you are trying to create a file inside a container, which is mounted to your host file system, which means that file will be created on your host file system as well. But since it is in read only mode, it should fail. So cannot touch because it's a read-only file system. So like this, you can prevent the vulnerability. Suppose an attacker gets into your file system, but everything is in read-only mode, he still won't be able to create something malicious software and run on your host file system. Obviously, he has got into your container and he has access to your container, but to get onto your VM, if it was in read-write system, then it is very easy for him to directly upload any malicious code to your host VM, where other of 100 containers are also running. So he just need access to one container. He goes to your host file system, and then he can do whatever he want. One more thing, when you are running, I mean, yeah, containers were there so that in one particular VM you can run hundreds of containers. But when you have your security in place, so what the large organizations, how they divide is, for a particular user, they try to have one VM so that their containers run on one system. So how this helps is, suppose one particular microservices, one particular user is compromised and his containers are compromised, so that particular VM is gone. but the other containers will be safe. Other users files or data files will be saved. Now if you do not specify anything or you do not differentiate and you run user A and B on the same container, so if the hacker gets access to user A's container, he'll also be able to get the access for the user B. So you can aggregate, although yes, containers are meant to run always. I mean, you can run it anywhere. You should always run multiple containers on a VM. But yeah, when it comes to security, you should start segregating. I mean, it's a good practice. Also, you should, we discussed that we should restart, we should have a limit on the restarts. So what happens is when you are running a big container and you do not specify a restart, something goes wrong, and during the restart some flaky image does something. So you should always give like on failure and the maximum times it should restart. Also, you should limit your memory and CPU. So these two commands will limit actually your memory and CPUs. Let's run one of these command and see what happens. So your kernel does not support memory limited without a swap. Okay, this is something a swap problem, but yeah, you have given actually your okay memory swap we have already given. So we are trying to allocate everything. The stress VM is 1 for the 5 seconds. So we have limited the memory. So limiting memory and your CPU will help. How? Suppose your container is eating up. So suppose an influx is running. So influx is a memory hungry operation. So the more you give, the more it takes. So even if you have a say 30 GB VM, it will take everything because it's a memory hungry operation and it will try to index, because the more CPU it eats, the faster results it will give. So for that, if you give hyphen C or hyphen M like 50 gigs, or I mean 20 gigs, it should be only giving to influx. After that, it should move to other indexing. So that will not eat up. I mean that will not make your VM go down, because if there is no space or memory left for your root processes for your VM to run, then your VM might crash. Your container crashing can still be recovered if you have a restart policy, or if you have any other mechanism like after this particular thing your indexing should change, it should read from other set of files. So all those things can be done, but if your VM goes down, then it becomes a problem for the other containers as well. So cap add and cap drop are the capabilities. So we talked about capabilities. You can drop all the capabilities, but the problem is that in Linux there are not very much specified set of capabilities which you can directly use. I mean, if you are unable to map a capability, like you want that particular capability for your application and you are not able to figure it out, like which capability actually it is that have to enable. So then people usually give privilege or give other flags. But yes, you should main thing is you should drop and try to figure out what all capabilities actually you need, so that you can perform only that particular operation. So in this we have dropped all the capabilities for a user, and we have added a capability chown, so that we can change the ownership of a directory. Let's run this. So it has changed because it didn't give any error. Okay, yeah, one more example of how to run as a non-privileged user from an image. I have 1 minute remaining. Let's see if we can do something quickly. gave the from. I hope so, because I'm not able to see if it's there. Now let's build it. I'm not sure if I, so I cannot go back. I have to create it again. Maybe I can see now. No. Okay, anyways, what I am running out of time. So the thing is, if you build, because this will be available for everybody. So if you build this and if you print the ID, so it will give you the user with this particular ID. So like this, you can actually use different users for them, and you can check out the repositories. I mean, you can check out the official images like Redis and how they are using, like Mongo also. So they have very good user switch that they are doing, and they do not run as root. So you can see how they have done it, and similar way you can do it for all your images if you are taking from Ubuntu, from CentOS, and other things. Last thing that I want to add is today, since we have Kubernetes 101 workshop, and so today's Kubernetes workshop, and for today, the major Kubernetes training providers have given some discount on their courses. So if you want to have your CKA, CKAD, Docker, all those things you want to learn from these people, they have set of great set of courses, and they have set of discounts. So Mumshad has highest rated course on his channels. So he has all set of courses. So if you use this coupon SAP Labs 30, so and you sign up on his website and you buy the course, it's only for today and tomorrow. I think only for today and tomorrow till evening. So for all the websites, for Learn Kids, so it's set of tutorials kind of who want to read and do some practical. So they do not have any video tutorials, but yeah, there are theoretical things over there which are explained beautifully, because I have gone through them. I reviewed one of their latest thing on service mesh. I think it's there, yeah, the ninth one. So it's actually very good, and you can read them. You'll be able to understand from the basics. They do not offer any discounts, so they are giving 20% discounts. I think this was the last time they'll be giving. If you want for the Learn Kids, you directly reach out to me. I will give you a link that will give you 20% discount. For Mumshad website, which is Code Cloud, this one, sorry, which is Code Cloud, it's 30% discount. And Nipendra also gave today a discount on CKA. If you want to prepare for the CKA exam, the code is Meetup 50. It's a direct 50% discount on Cloud Yoga's CKA course. It directly helps you to certify CKA because it has a very good practice test, and the modules are like starting from scratch and building you up to the end foundation. So you can take note of the coupon codes. So this is for Cloud Yoga, and they are verified partners on CNCF. They are certified partners for CNCF for the Kubernetes training. And for Mumshad courses, it's SAP Labs 30, which is actually Code Cloud, KODEKLOUD. Go to their website, check out all the courses, and you can apply this coupon. And for Learn Kids, there is a link. Uh, if you want Learn Kids, I can give you. So Learn Kids also have free course on, I think, the Node.js one. I think that is not mentioned over here. So if you want to actually see like how their course is actually formatted or how it is structured, so what you can do is check out their free course, which is on Node.js, Docker on Node.js, something like that. And if you feel like you want the discount, you can reach out to me. I'll give the link to you. For others, once more I'm showing, it's Meetup 50 for only CKA. So this is only for one course. You won't be able to apply a coupon for any other course. It's only for CKA. Here it's the site wide, so it gives you a site wide access. It has Docker, Ansible, Chef, Kubernetes, CKA, CKAD, practice test, all the access, and combined on the site it gives you a 30% discount. In Learn Kids, you get all the 10 modules, and it's in a downloadable PDF format as well, and you get a 20% discount over there. I'm not promoting any of these. If you don't want any of these, your choice, because we as a meetup organizers, we give free trainings, because today also Kubernetes 101 is a free workshop, but they are actually very good for your knowledge and for your certification tracks, so you can use them. So that's what I had for today. Thank you very much.